is an interesting episode where we talk about the things that I didn't talk about for a long time. We're going to talk about social. We're going to talk about SEO. We're going to talk about content. We're going to talk about keywords. We're going to talk about all the interesting stuff. But we named the episode Social versus SEO. Pick up your fighter and start, which is kind of interesting because, people go now into the B2B sphere. They go all around, like, do we need to focus on social? Do we need to focus on SEO? What's first? What comes the second? All those dilemmas. And I have a guest that will help me and you figure out what is the right way, or do we have the right way, or it all depends. Like, his name is Ben. Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nemanja. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. It's been a long time coming, and Dick, we've been chatting in the feed, in the comments, in the messages for a long time.
Yeah, I think I've been following you for 2 years now.
Yeah,
and I love it how you take old ideas, you make them new. You talk about things and you bring a new perspective. And it's great because it's easy to get burnt out with marketing. And so it's no kind of way with no fluff,
Yeah, I mean, I was recording an episode. Actually, I was a guest on a podcast of my friend from Russia, Anton, and he told me, like, it seems like, you are constantly bringing new ways of making a content, those kind of things. And I told him, it seems that I'm doing pretty much boring stuff as everybody else is from my perspective, right? So it all depends who's watching, who's seeing things. But, as I saw an episode, or it was a short clip, whatever it is, from Gary Vee a few days ago. He wasn't in my focus for years, I think. And then I saw him and he said, somebody asked him about LinkedIn, and he said, you need to know your USP, and you need to know your target customers. And basically, you need to have, if you can, 3 to 10 posts per day and talk about only these things from different angles and different perspectives. And I'm like, okay, it means that you need to know how you differentiate, you need to know positioning, you need to know messaging, you need to know your target customers. Basically, you need to know it all to be able to do that in that way and present things in a lot of different ways, right? It's not that simple as it sounds.
But it's all the basics, right? So I took some classes on Coursera in digital marketing because I felt like I was missing out on something. And they taught me all those things. So all the stuff I learned there, taking a bunch of courses, I took like 11 classes, I already learned by writing a blog post on it, And so, but I think it's about the execution. It's about that quantity, 3 to 10 posts. That's a lot of posts. Most people put 1 a week, 2, 3 a week. The guys that want to be ahead of the pack, they're going to do 3 to 10, maybe more. It was the same thing with Pinterest. A few years ago, I was managing marketing for an e-commerce business. And the same thing, we were posting 1 or 2 posts, and we saw it was in home decor. We saw accounts were exploding. It was a really popular category. And I asked around, and I found out that the people that were succeeding were posting 10 to 15 posts a day. So
that's a lot.
Sometimes it's about that.
That's a lot, even for me.
But a lot of repins on Pinterest, you could post the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
I remember back in the days, when I was doing e-commerce, also some automotive industry for the companies based in Canada and US, and I was trying to make Pinterest work, and it worked for the people who are searching for specific things. And it was always kind of a nice platform. I always say to my wife, why do you spend so much time on TikTok? Why don't you spend and create something on Pinterest like every other female is doing?
Right.
But it's a great platform. I don't see many people talk about it these days.
Yeah, I don't know if it's popular anymore. I haven't been on it for years.
Yeah, me neither. But tell me a few more things about your background. What do you do? You had some amazing results. I already put them in the show notes, but feel free to tell us more.
Sure. Well, I'm Ben. I'm from Israel. Lived in California for quite a while. That's where the accent's from. And I've been doing content marketing for a long time now. Longer than I remember. No, like 6 or 7 years. Today I work with Maple, where I manage all their content. We are a platform that matches brands with experts. So, back in the day, you would have to go on Upwork and find an expert you wanted. Let's say you want a social media manager. You go on Upwork, you put the job posting, you had 40 people respond. You had to sift through applications, talk to each one, schedule calls, look at their case studies. You didn't really know without, unless they tell you what the results were. And even then, you didn't really know if you could trust it. It's very difficult to hire marketing talent. And especially today, when everyone's an expert, everyone's an influencer, everyone's a visionary. So at Maple, we're solving that. We take experts, we vet them ourselves, and we started primarily with advertising experts. So we look at their actual accounts, we look at the data, the campaigns they've done, the size of their audience, the budgets they've managed, and we only accept the ones that have proven record. And then when we get a brand, so we match that expert with that brand. We match people that have, experience in that niche, that have proven results, that match a variety of criteria that the brand is looking for. And then it's super flexible. It's month to month. You can create a whole team. You could, build, work with one person. So it's like a marketplace, essentially.
Yeah, I love that, and it seems like something like that is actually missing. As I see, like there's a list of popular creators on LinkedIn, those kind of things, but I don't see anybody matches them with companies, and also vets them. I mean, sure, now they do regarding LinkedIn and those kind of things, because things got to a point when you need to actually vet them and see what's the background and are they legit. But I think matching them is actually the future and the second step, because I see, especially in P2P, I see much more evangelist roles coming up, people becoming advisors, working with companies from outside, or just helping them through the content, through those kind of things. I remember it was like a year ago or a year and a half ago, like ClickUp had a budget for branding, and they decided to use it to kind of empower subject matter experts to talk about ClickUp and all the things. And I remember, because I was one of those, they approached me. I never responded to that message. No idea why, but
why not?
No idea. I think it was the end of the year and everything was a mess and all around. And they asked me basically how much do I want to charge for the post, and then didn't ask me, to go and actually talk about ClickUp. They told me, use the platform. Here are the things we want you to talk about. And then it's up to you how you want to do it. Here's the document when there are things that we can talk about. You can use that, or you can use something on your own, but we just want you to do your own thing. And I was like, damn, hats off. That's how you actually should do it.
That's amazing. But what about the relationship? Like, it sounds like you weren't engaged.
Basically, they reach out and they say, hey, we are reaching out to people that we recognize as trustful people. And then we want to have a conversation to see if there's a right fit, after the conversation. So it's kind of was, I think I was one of many that they reach out, because they had a budget for that. But only, thinking that a year and a half ago, you have a budget for that specific things, and you go and you execute that way, basically empower the subject matter experts to talk about the things that you talk about. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's also really great for experts, like most freelancers, they don't want to spend their time chasing clients, chasing payments, doing all the admin tasks. They want to do marketing. And so at Maple, we provide them that idea, that we provide them that opportunity, because we not only match, but we also manage that relationship. So we chase for payments, for example. So the payments are guaranteed to the expert. The expert doesn't have to worry if they're going to get paid on time or not. We pay them, and then we communicate with the customer and all that. Just one of the things.
Yeah, that's great, man. And I feel I don't see enough about that kind of content on LinkedIn. So maybe I should turn on notifications on some people and actually get more in depth.
Yeah, you should follow me, man.
I think we do. But there's one thing that I need to do for sure, and that is kind of refresh who am I getting notifications from. And that was a long time coming, and I think I might do that today, right? Because I always like to have like a fresh perspective, but there are some people that I'm getting notifications from and I didn't react for like maybe 2 weeks on their posts. It means I need to move on and shift from that.
Do you ever get posts where you're just like, wow, that was just above my pay grade? Like, I didn't understand. I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I do. I don't know. Like, let me give you a few examples. I didn't work that much with corporations. So, like, what's the name? Lemkin from Suster. When he posts something, a lot of things I understand, but sometimes I'm like, I never worked with that big of a teams with salespeople and marketing or whatever it is to kind of be able to get into the trenches of that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to read and I'm going to learn and I'm going to try to get myself educated more about those things. Then it's always like analytics, those kind of things. You can never know everything about that. Right. So I always like to nerd out and go like, I think you also know Juliana Jackson.
Yeah.
Juliana, I understand pretty much most of the stuff that she's talking about. But now that she's getting better into data analytics and those kind of things, sometimes she comes out with a post or it's a podcast episode or an article, and I'm like, damn. Like a few years ago, I wouldn't expect to see Juliana talking about these things. But she stepped up, went to the direction, into the niche when she wants to get, and she became an expert in that.
Cool. I mean, so what kind of services do you offer clients? Like, do you guys just do everything under the sun or specific things?
Oh, definitely not. But we might do a lot more things in the future. But look, basically, I was running agency model like from the start. We grew up to 7 people, close, I think, 67 or something like that clients in a year and a half. And basically, I figure out, I don't want to build another agency because I had experience in agencies, in startups, those kind of things. I want to do something else for the reason because a lot of companies have shitty strategies in place. And if we come as an agency, we need to basically execute someone else's strategies, right? And it affects our results as well. So I said, okay, there are some companies I don't want to work with. There are some companies I want to work with. I'm going to focus on the second one, on the companies I want to work with, and I want to enter as somebody who brings in the strategy. So basically, I scaled down the agency. Now it's just me. And then, I work with the same people that I had in-house when it was an agency, but I bring them in one by one, depending on a project, depending when I need them. And, and they have a chance also to work with other companies, with other people and be better every time, I get them back to help with something. So that's how it goes. Now, do a lot of things as fractional CMO, as a 3-month sprint, basically where we set up a goal and we focus on that. A lot of other things outside that. I have another company which is doing the basically business community, where we merge business professionals to kind of help each other. We organize huge offline events, like twice a month. We have like 200 people offline in a room talking with each other. Maybe we have some, lectures, those kind of things.
Wow.
But also, merge them just to, to share things, to kind of confess when they don't have anybody to talk with, those kind of things. On top of all that, now doing a lot of cohorts regarding the LinkedIn, so like LinkedIn accelerators, when we have B2B companies, and basically I spend around 3 months with them and teaching them how to create a hub inside the company and leverage LinkedIn for their goals, whatever they might be. So in short, that's it.
That's incredible. So all the events, they're just local?
Yeah, just local for now. We started from Novi Sad, now we are moving to Belgrade. But, people all around Serbia are coming. Like to give you an example, we had a guy who is from Majdanpek. It's a small town in East Serbia, close to the Bulgarian and Romanian border, and it's basically a city that lives out of miners. There's a mine over there, and people work in mines. And he was also working in mine, and he came to Novi Sad. It's a long trip from Majdanpek to meet people and kind of say, I'm learning marketing. I'm doing something, on LinkedIn, helping some small entrepreneurs, companies, those kind of things. And he met people from Lead Delta. I don't know if you know Lead Delta, but it's one of the best tools for leverage LinkedIn. Basically, kind of improve inbox and social capital platform, because you can move the contacts to other platforms. And they hired him. He got a job, and now he's working in one of the most interesting startups here in the region.
That's amazing. What is it called? Lead Delta?
Yeah. You probably know Vedran Rasic.
Maybe. I'm really bad with names, but when I see faces, I recognize people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so how did you start the LinkedIn stuff? And what format is that? Is that all online?
Most of the things it's online. Sometimes we do offline trainings for the companies, but most of the stuff it's online. I mean, I started it because people were looking what we were doing with Funky Marketing back in 2020, and they wanted us to do the same for them. So like the first company was HTech Group. Basically, in 3 months, they grew from 3,000 employees to 800 employees, not only due to our work. They were opening like new markets every month, but we had around 40 people in a cohort, from the company, marketing, sales. Then we have C-level, and then we have engineers figure out, we want to help the company attract new people. And basically the only measurement was, are we able to attract people to come to work for us? That was the only measurement they were after, because they are still going for the IPO, so they want to have a huge number of employees.
Right.
And then, based from that, then it comes NIS, Gazprom, Neft, and all the other companies. And you just, based on the company's goal, you reframe them and you go and help it.
That's amazing. We're trying to do that right now.
I mean, if you want to get one thing that makes it or breaks it, if it's going to work or no, is who you have in-house. Are those people that are understanding the importance of the personal brand for themselves? Because they won't do it if me and you as their bosses are telling them to do it. They might do it for a short period of time, but then they will stop. And also, what do you do as a leader? Right? It can be you, it can be the CEO, all depends who are people looking as the leader. Are they doing the same things? Are they helping them hold their hands and helping them with frameworks, with examples, giving them feedback on their content, those kind of things? Because LinkedIn is only the overview of what's happening inside the company, right? If nobody's posting on LinkedIn, it means something. If everybody's posting on LinkedIn, it also means something. So I always like to analyze the companies through those lenses, what they can talk about on LinkedIn. Do they talk only about business? Are they different? How the things goes? But in 10 of 11 cases, like it was make or break if the leader was involved and was leading the way or no. Because a lot of companies understand the whole thing. They know how to do it, because while we're doing it, we help them. They create posts, they answer the things. We start not from LinkedIn, but from popular psychology. Who you are, what's your goal, what can you influence, what can you teach, those kind of things. And most of the people have never answered those questions before. They never asked themselves those questions. Like a lot of people said, it's actually hard to answer those questions. And when you have that, then it's easy. Basically, you know where you are going after, what types of content can you create. You need to create a roadmap, a framework, and then you basically go.
That's amazing. And speaking about that, it's interesting because we have a blend at Maple. Like we have people that are posting only about work on LinkedIn, and then we have people that are only posting about whatever they're interested in. And so my question to you is, and I've tried this the last few weeks, I wanted to post about content. That's primarily what I do, content, SEO. And then I also wanted to talk about relationship advice because it feels good. It's fulfilling for me. It's like something other than marketing, it takes you out of the boring, mundane day to day. So is it possible to have two topics you talk about on LinkedIn and not confuse your audience?
I mean, all depends how similar are the topics or how opposite
What if they're completely different?
are they. Give me an example.
Marketing and marriage advice.
That's kind of interesting. I mean, I think those two goes well together.
Seriously?
I think yes.
How?
I think yes. Well, it's a relationship, right? And basically, if you look at marketing the way I look at it, it's like you have the moment when somebody buys something, and I look at marketing as reverse engineering, so facilitating the process for somebody to buy, right? So to be able to do that, you need to give that person a little something to move to the next step. And in each step, you give them just a little to move to the next step, not, buy, or whatever it is. And then basically that's how you create a relationship. And when people ask how long should it take, said sometimes it's a couple of years, sometimes it's forever, sometimes it's 2 days. All depends where they are in a buying process and when do you come in. It's also like that. Think about, there are people who get married, in 2 days. Sometimes it's just click and they stay together for 50 years. Sometimes, it's they go for a long way and then basically when they get married, they divorce. So they didn't talk about everything. You didn't share everything. Didn't weren't honest from the start from some of the things. And then I mean that's just an example until they get to the marriage. When there's a relationship ongoing, then there's tons of other stuff. At least that's how I see it.
But then you can combine the two together. But practically speaking, I post something about content, I get a bunch of views. I post something about marriage, and I get these comments like, "So how come you're posting about this?" Right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean it can be confusing because it's LinkedIn.
sure.
That's the only
So
thing.
you're
I
saying
always
do
say
other platforms. Okay.
if you look at it like a mixture of personal and business, probably that's how people look at it. And you need to have a healthy mix, right? Personal is here just to give you a slice of differentiation when it comes to the business or to explain things in a way that they are more approachable. On the other hand, if it's just personal, then it's like, why don't you go on Instagram or those kind of things? Do you actually know to talk about the things that you do for work? Right? That comes up as a question. So there needs to be a healthy balance.
For sure.
Oh, but let me ask you a couple of questions because, guys, we go on and off. Sometimes Ben is asking questions, sometimes I'm asking questions. That's how we are doing today. But tell me what's happening with the content and SEO and Google today. The way I'm seeing it, just to give you a context, Google is becoming more and more as a chat, as AI-based chat that will give you the answers, whatever it is, based on what it generates and what it has on the platform. And if you really want to rank and differentiate and do some things, especially if you're just starting, or think about it, in a longer period of time, I think you might have to consider going to YouTube as well. Because I think that will be the platform that will have the most flexibility for you to rank your content and to be somebody who is on top of everything.
I mean, I agree. You nailed it. I think it's more about the full picture of different content types. So it's not just about the written content. I think more people are going to switch to AI-based tools, maybe not ChatGPT, maybe things that have built on ChatGPT, and then you create the bulk of your article with that, and then you add your own. You edit, you add your own voice, you add your own examples, stats, internal links, images. So the content creation process is going to become easier, and more people are going to switch to video, to actual expert input, expert quotes. Audio, I think, is going to be huge. And then we're going to have augmented reality pretty soon. I mean, maybe it's going to be like a hologram of me talking to the reader. I don't know. But it's going to be
Yeah.
much more practical. I was thinking about it. I was on Amazon yesterday. I was writing a post on, it was like a listicle on books. And I realized that the book industry is completely changing with AI. You know, there's going to be zero fluff in a book. Like you normally take a marketing book, like 30% of it's really good marketing examples, 30% of it is just intro, just fluff.
Mhm.
And I think with AI, all that stuff's going to go out the window and you're going to have all these examples. And then I think it's going to be the people that will be ahead will be able to distill that information into video clips, audio clips, you know, like when I'm listening to Pep's podcast from CXL. So
Mhm.
the way he edits his, it's like amazing storytelling. It's not like a 1 hour interview. It's a story, and he comes and narrates in the middle and all that. So I think it's going to be about those different formats.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm getting bored by those things. I stopped following Pep's podcast and just look at the shorts based on it because I feel like for me, and I see that's working for people. There are other people who edit their podcast like that. For example, you and I talk about something, and then I edit the part when I say, look, this is what Ben was talking about. This is what you should pay attention to, whatever it is. And I'm like, nah, man, I want to get those things for myself. I don't want you to tell me. Maybe you can do it at the end or whatever it is to kind of get it to me. And I get it why people value those things. But I'm just, looking at things a little bit differently. And I guess we need to have diversity so we can consume things in a different way. But I like what you said, and it's easier to create content than ever for the people who are outgoing, who are don't have fear of videos, of cameras, those kind of things, especially people who are entertaining, right? But if you look at B2B SaaS, if you look at tech companies, there are a lot of people who are engineers, a lot of people who are introverts. We have a lot of people who are just not entertaining, right? And from that perspective, if we say to them, okay, besides educational content that you are already creating for YouTube, for whatever it is, Google, you now need to create entertaining content. Now that becomes a challenge. And that requires a person to come in and figure out the situation when, you and I are going to talk about be serious, talk about business, but around us, things are going to happen because that's the only way that you can do it, right? And sitting in a room and talking like this to the camera doesn't help at all.
Yeah, but then there's many different ways that you can play with that. You can hire somebody, you can get influencers, you can hire someone in-house, you can use one of
Yeah,
those AI tools that will create video.
I think it's sparks the need for creativity. I don't look at it like that, like, AI is going to come in, replace everything. I think people will need to figure out things on a whole different level to be engaging because, like, starting point is going up, right? The starting per year. So people are getting
Right.
more ideas from ChatGPT, from other things. Maybe they didn't even have them before, but then they ask him, what can I do to make this more entertaining? And they get the ideas from that perspective. But tell me, if you are now to start working with a B2B SaaS, for example, and you need to focus on social or on content, or you need to pick up one thing to start, which one would you pick?
It's a great question. I would first look at the audience, exactly what we talked about in the beginning. Who's your audience? And then where do they hang out? Like if for us, for Maple, we found that a lot of people hang out on LinkedIn. All of the marketing leaders that are looking for new strategies, new tactics, that are looking to hire new marketers, they all come hang out on LinkedIn. So for us, I would definitely focus on LinkedIn. But the question is that you ask is even more interesting because what would you do in the beginning, like day zero? what would you do? And I think it depends. I think a lot of people want to jump into SEO, but it's not. It's a very long-term game. It's going to take 3 to 6 to 12 months, and I think it's going to be the most valuable if you've built a community. So I would actually recommend finding who your audience is. If they hang out on social and specific social media, specific accounts, or specific things they look for, then create that community. Go out there, post, comment, and do all that. If you're in an industry where, and like, I don't know, buying swimming pools, then you're definitely going to have to experiment with SEO. People aren't going on LinkedIn, look at swimming pools. Maybe they're going on TikTok. I don't know. Haven't really used TikTok. Just avoiding it till the very last minute. Now, thank God we hired a social media manager. But it always gets to me. People say, TikTok is the new search engine. People use it as a search engine. Yeah. But we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I definitely would say that. And if you want to start with SEO, people think in like 2010 terms, they're like, oh, I'll post one blog post a week. Well, that's not how SEO works. So you need, if you come up with a topic that you want to focus on, start with the bottom of the funnel. Start at the post that people will read right before entering your sales funnel. And then write 30 or 40 articles on that topic and publish them as soon as possible. Like, just publish 20, 30, 40 articles and then continue engaging with your community, and then wait a few weeks and see how that goes. And there's a lot of details that people miss. I saw a website that was beautiful. It was a email marketing agency. They rebranded. It was gorgeous, but they weren't ranking for anything. But they already had 30, 40 posts, I think, maybe even 80. But none of the posts were linking to each other. So that's a huge mistake anyways. It's like a lot of people talk about backlinks, but internal links are just as important. And what we did with Maple, I took a few months and I just linked everything to each other, added a bunch of links, all our ranking went up, traffic went up. So if you're starting day zero and you absolutely must start with SEO, your audience is buying a swimming pool, then take those 30, 40 posts, publish, link to each other, make sure it's optimized in terms of the SEO, but also the user experience, that the content, the format makes sense, that visually makes sense. And then wait a few weeks and then go from there.
Yeah, I love that. And, the thing is, I always say to the people, make sure that you know if your customers are actually on the market to buy and how many of them are actually in the market to buy, right? In B2B, it's most of the times 95 to 97% are not on the market to buy because they buy once in a few years, right? So most of the times it's not the good time for them to kind of go to the Google and search for it and try to buy. But on the other hand, if you want to play that game and go on Google, then it's always, like category leader gets 70% of everything. I think it's actually 77. So you need to fight for everybody else for like 23%. And that's okay for some industries and some niches. That's millions. But you need to figure out if that's enough for you. And, and even if you go there and get inside that game, maybe SEO is not the first thing to think about. Maybe even PPC will be more effective than that. So you can at least test things out and get some research results faster and those kind of things. But I always say to the people, before you actually build a product, if you have a chance and you know who you're gonna want to build product for, create a community. Right? That's something that, I always like to get back to the example of Drift. Back in the days, that's what they were doing. They were in Boston and they were able to organize C-level dinners for the people in tech industries and get the insights from them. Then they merge the product people with that and create the community. Yeah. And then they figure out, okay, so we listen to what people are saying. And they were like, product people are freaking out because nobody understands what they do. Right? So from the and one of those things first that they freak out is having to do forms on a website and those kind of things. So they say, okay, we're going to do something different. We're going to create a bot basically, but we're going to name it as conversational marketing and come up with, they basically didn't, I wouldn't say they created the category. They just named it differently and played the game in that way, coming up with a book, coming up with everything. I mean, remember back in the days, we actually bought a book with the agency when I was director of operations. And 2 weeks after, the postman came and he brought another book from them. It was a gift, which was called It Won't Scale. 40 things that they do create a hypergrowth company. And it was the book that I was recommending up to these days to everybody I'm working with, inside the company, to how the mindset should be and what they should be thinking about. I think there's a free download now somewhere on Drift website, even the PDF version, and I recommend to everybody reading it. But that was actually the way they are thinking. We create the engagement, we come up with a category, we write a book to confirm it, and then basically everybody who buys a book, we give them additional value to that. And then they added a podcast, they added events, and of course, affiliate marketing through all of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Talking about what we talked about.
Yeah, also regarding to what we talked about before, also LinkedIn, they were the first company that had t-shirts with Drift written on them, and they all changed their profile photos. At one moment, they were all sharing the post. I guess internal marketing was great. Somebody was giving them, probably Dave or whoever it is, were giving them insights and the topic they can talk about, and they were blowing up all around the LinkedIn.
It's amazing. I was thinking about, if we talk about the quantity of posts, right? Instead of posting 2, post 15. What if you did the same thing with your customers? Like what you're saying, you send a book and then you get a second book. What if you had a whole funnel of actions of retention that you do for your existing customers? I think that would go a long way.
Definitely. I don't remember who did something like that. It doesn't matter. But one of those tools that creates questionnaire and those kind of things. And they were doing a lot because it's questionnaire and you have a lot of room to kind of do different stuff, right? To award people, to come up with different things, and then guide them through the way. And I need to find that episode somewhere. It was a couple of years ago, but it stick to me because they use exactly those specific things to kind of not nurture the audience because they already bought for them, but to kind of take them to the next level of becoming the brand ambassadors and somebody who is actually excited to talk about the tools that they are using.
Yeah. Speaking about excitement, I have a question about something you shared in the beginning. How do you avoid burnout? Like you shared that you create all this content, but to you it's boring. You've already talked about it, right? It's just different content, different angles of the same topic. So how do you avoid burnout?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I know the answer, but I'm trying to get to one. Basically, first of all, I said that I'm posting a lot. So it's like 2 to 4 posts per day sometimes, but I don't look at it like that. I don't spend that much time creating content, right? I create like podcast episodes like this one or whatever it is. Sometimes I use ChatGPT to give me the 5 things that I said in the podcast, or those kind of things. And I was training him in the last month or so to write like I do on LinkedIn. Right, it's still a work in process, but we'll see how it goes. So far, I have like 4 or 5 articles out of the podcast episodes written for the website. Still didn't publish them, still need to go through them, but it seems good. So that's one thing. The second thing is I use LinkedIn as a platform for having a conversation with people, right? Because I started from Serbia, I did a lot of things that nobody here knew how to answer. Right. So, or usually people here don't give you the answer, but when you do the thing that it's against what they consider the good thing, then they say, you should have asked me. Well, I asked, right? So I decided to stick to LinkedIn and to ask people over there. I was using Facebook as well until like 5 or 6 months ago. Now it's definitely not working in a way that it was working before. But I use it to have a conversation. Sometimes it's a podcast episode. Sometimes it's, hey, this is a topic. These are my thoughts. What's your standpoint on that? Then the other thing is, these are the results. Then I talk about LinkedIn. Here's how you build things. Then I come up with, working with these companies. This is what they said about working with me. Then, I introduce other people to the content. All depends, but it's all different things because I do a lot of stuff during the day. And I have so many things that I want to say, a lot of times. So I just say it, right? And I'm writing for many years, 11, 12 years. And, now it comes natural, right? It's not for everybody. And I'm reading a lot of comic books. So it helps me a lot to come up with new ways to talk about the things.
Comic books?
Yeah.
Like Superman?
I dislike Superman, but I like Batman, for example.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I like the Batman is like, I like to say brother, like one of us. He has a work to do and he's pissed off because, nothing goes in his way. So it's kind of always nice. He's a psycho like all of us are. So that's why I like him. But all those things, and I incorporate the things from my private life into the business. I'm not the guy who separates business from personal. I don't think we can draw a line because when hard things happen, you cannot work and not think about private or the other way around. And you need to find just a nice little balance about it. To give you an example, like when I get to the Novi Sad, I was preparing myself to be more present on social everywhere and to have a different opinion than everybody else, different point of view. So what did I do? I bought a bicycle, a unique cruiser with a huge wheel, and basically, I was drawing attention everywhere in the city where I go. Right, and I was getting used to the attention. People were saying, this when they see the bicycle, they say, that's cool, that's old school, whatever it is. And then when you're used to those things, then you don't have the pressure. And what I did this September is I stopped working with clients for a month because I got myself into the moment when I was forgetting things in the middle of the sentence. Right, so figure out, okay, I'm overworked. And I said to my wife, I need a vacation right now. She could not do it, because she works from 8 to 4 every day. She works in the cosmetics industry in sales, but she goes to the office. So she cannot go to the vacation whenever I need to. So I need to figure out how I'm going to prevent myself from the burnout. So I said I'm not going to work with clients. I was good with money, so that wasn't an issue. So I wake up every day, I open my laptop and start working. And then I said, okay, wait, this is not what you're supposed to do. You need to close the laptop and go and take a rest, right? So I go to the Danube beach and I lay down, it's the sun, I get a coffee, I chill. There are not many people are actually working during the week.
Right.
And then it comes into my mind, you lazy bastard. You should be working. You are here now resting, enjoying the sun when everybody else are working, right? And it took at least 2 weeks to get me in the moment when I fell asleep on the beach. And I didn't sleep on a beach or vacation or wherever for 10 years. And I was like, okay, means I'm finally relaxed and chill. And now when I got back to working, I can do tons of stuff. I can work for hours and I'm good. But I was able to detach myself from it for like 2 weeks or whatever it is. I think the problem with all of us is that, even though we all have like 2 weeks to 20 days vacation per year, nobody actually takes 2 weeks or the company doesn't allow them, right? After 7 days, you're still, not detached from work. After 2 weeks, well, you probably are. You'll start thinking about different stuff and the ideas start popping up and, those kind of things. So I think we need to find like a healthy balance. If we can, some people just cannot do it and I think we need to change the whole environment for us to be able to live healthier way.
Yeah, that's incredible. So where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years?
Oh, if I knew, I would tell you. So I have no idea. I know that I have one thing, and that was the thing from the start, from my beginnings in the NGO and activism, is to help as many people as possible. It turns out that, first it was youth work, then it was save mountain villages from dying through tourism and those kind of things. Then it became marketing, still is. Now we have like a community, these kind of things. But the goal is to help as many people as possible and figure out, I worked with 200 companies in like 4 years, and I cannot do it on my own. So I need to create the movement, the community, whatever it is, and to give them the tools, the frameworks, whatever it is, so they can work with 200 companies on their own, right? And that's the way to kind of go and help as many people and companies as possible. So this is what I'm trying to do. Where it
You
will
jump to other countries?
Yeah, other countries as well. I mean, I'm working worldwide, so events are here for now, but we'll see how it goes. That's just one segment of it.
Are you guys doing mentorships, like matching people together? And
not yet. Actually, I did one for like 3 months, 300 euros per person. I wanted to be as cheap as possible, and I invest like an hour in that, and then I match people and help them out during the week. But it turns out that people weren't that much active during the week in those talks. Maybe it was me, maybe it was the concept. I still need to figure out those things, but I was bored, right? So I figured out, okay, for now I'm gonna skip it, and I'll see how it goes, in the future.
Because that's something we've been thinking about. Like, our main service is bringing these experts and running marketing campaigns. But there's plenty of other experts that would want to learn from this community we've built, right, of vetted people. So what if we pair them together and we say, okay, how about you guys offer mentorships per hour or whatever it is?
Yeah, I think that works for a lot of people. This was just, like me working with 10 other people. So maybe the whole concept was not the right fit for me. What you are saying, it's a little bit different. So, and it's already existing community, you're just taking it to the next level.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Who knows? But tell me, what's next for you?
For me personally?
Personally, or for Maple, we can hear both answers, I think.
So for Maple, it's very interesting. So we've been around for 5 years or so. So the last 5 years, we've basically worked exactly how I described. We take an expert, we match them to a company, and then they do the work. And that's a, one-to-one relationship. But what we started doing is we found that companies, especially SaaS companies, that have an online product that people use, so they're losing customers because sometimes their customers don't know how to use it or don't know how to take advantage of the features or get enticed by some other competitor, or just get really busy and they're thinking, wow, well, this cost me money and I'm not focusing on it because I don't know what, it does. Let's say an email tool or a CRM or a social media tool. And we have these experts. We have the email experts, we have social media experts. So we started basically partnerships with companies. Take a company, they give us access to their customers. They invite their customers to participate in like a pilot. And then we get some of our top experts, and these experts work with these customers on that specific platform. And it's been really successful. I can't really talk about it, unfortunately, like details, but it's been really huge. And I think it's going to become one of the main things we do at Maple. Because not very many of those tools can build their own expert communities. You know what I mean? Like you go Shopify has a list of agencies. Well, there's no mechanism that they built that like matches you with an agency, or sees, oh, this guy's about to churn. How about I match him, or he needs X service, or he needs this tweak, and then built into the product. So that's essentially what we've created with a few, and that's going to be the next. That's going to be the future. But in terms of me personally, it's a good question. I think I'm trying to experiment with community. I think I'm trying to. One of the ideas I have is to create a community for marriage advice for men and accountability, because it doesn't exist. I haven't even Googled it. I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. And that's one of the things that's always been missing in my life. When I got married, never had any marriage. There's no marriage, workbook, no textbook. And the thing to go to do now is, you go to therapy. Like, okay, but the therapist isn't a buddy, isn't somebody on my level. And so what I found recently is peers, other people that I can ask for advice. And marriage is such a central relationship to our lives, And like Napoleon, for example, had a really bad time with women. Like, he had a horrible marriage. I don't know if he had several or one, but just known for just that. And so that affects your entire life. That sets the vibe in the home. And that's the most fulfilling area of my life, and certainly many other people's lives. And so I thought, why not create a community like that where, I live in a little village in Israel, and people here we have like a weekly class on marriage. It's just a few minutes. And people here are open and we talk to each other. And so that's kind of built into our culture. But somewhere else may not be at all. And so my idea is make an online community for that and see how I can be the facilitator. I'm not saying I'm going to be some expert, get a PhD and whatever it is. It's boring. Facilitate people coming together, mentor each other, staying accountable, whatever it is.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, like, here in Serbia, we say that we are open and we talk about a lot of deep things, but if you were going somewhere and talking with with other people that you might not know or just know a little bit about your marriage, then will it stay in that circle? Probably not. So I think that's the issue, not talking about it.
Yeah. And here you can have anonymity. You can call yourself whatever you want. You don't have to display your last name. Just interact with people.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways to overcome that. And I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I agree with you. If I look at like my relationship and my wife, like, she's the rock that supports me wherever I do. Without, I mean, sometimes with questions, but most of the times, she trusted me. And I trusted her regarding some other stuff. So I've seen how important is that.
Yeah.
Who would say we end up talking about marriage?
So are you gonna join my community? You gonna be the first one?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's do it. Where there's two, there will be more.
That's right.
Let's do it. Perfect, man. Now tell me and everybody listening where they can find more information about you.
You can just follow me on LinkedIn. You could check out Maple, MAYPLE.com. We got our blog there. And you could follow Maple on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We got a lot of videos. We're doing monthly events. Got a bunch of interviews with our experts that we're going to showcase on YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok. So yeah, you can follow us.
Sounds good. Guys, be sure to do it. Now, this is the moment in the episode when I tell you to go back to the beginning and listen, because we were talking about all kind of different stuff, but we said some smart things. So go ahead, listen whenever you hear something that that sticks with you. Write it down or stop it. Reach out to Ben, reach out to me. Let's see if it happens for the first time that somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, I heard about your Funky Marketing podcast." Let's see if there's a first, but be sure to do that. Also, be sure to subscribe, follow the podcast. If you like it, share it with somebody. let them know that they should maybe listen an episode, see if it works for them. Feel free to message me. Feel free to message Ben about anything related to content, SEO, or marriage. So that's the new one. Ben, thank you very much for spending almost an hour here with me talking about different stuff. I'm sure we're
Thanks
gonna
for
do it
having me.
again. I'm sure we're gonna do it again. There are a lot more things to talk about, but guys, as I always say for the end, keep it funky. That's always the most important thing. Bye bye.